The government and the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine are preparing a project under which the administrative responsibility for crossing the border will be increased to 1 million hryvnias. Even criminal liability is possible, up to 12 years of imprisonment if you have forged documents or insufficient documents for crossing the border. This is how they want to turn Ukraine into a carrier of this communist regime. Zelensky and his associates have decided to completely violate the constitution and the criminal code, usurp power, and assume authority that is not rightfully theirs. They want to prohibit Ukrainians from freely leaving the territory of Ukraine if they wish, or returning to the territory of Ukraine. They are doing everything to make the world believe that Ukraine is a totalitarian country. And indeed, it is. Ukraine is a totalitarian country where human life is not valued. People are sent to slaughter, and out of 100 people on the front lines, only 20 remain. As the head of the Territorial Center for Recruitment and Social Support of the Poltava region said, everyone who illegally crosses the border and those who help them will be sentenced to 12 years in prison. This is how the regime has decided to tighten the screws, turning Ukraine into a new Soviet Union, and into North Korea, where they simply shoot people without warning. There is nothing stopping border guards from shooting civilians. Nothing at all. Therefore, there have been cases when they killed people, and there are many such cases that the media do not report. The Ukrainian authorities do not talk about this, and Ukrainian media do not either. Such cases have occurred when people who wanted to escape across the border were shot in the back by their own, and this was done by the armed forces of Ukraine, specifically the armed forces. This is a violation of all international norms and violations of all international conventions. In general, this occupying regime has turned Ukraine into a concentration camp of a strict regime, like Auschwitz. People are completely deprived of any rights, but we will not give up. We will actively resist and bring to justice those who violate the rights and freedoms of individuals and citizens. We will definitely punish all those who have committed killings according to the law, and no Ukrainian can be deprived of the right to freely leave the territory of Ukraine and cannot be deprived of the right to return to the territory of Ukraine, even in times of war. No restrictions can be established. No restrictions, I emphasize, can be established by law or by anyone's internal instruction, to which the armed forces of Ukraine refer, violating Article 17, Part 4 of the Constitution of Ukraine. This directive, as well as Article 60, is clearly a criminal order. Therefore, Ukrainians have begun to win lawsuits regarding border crossing against the armed forces of Ukraine. I want to emphasize that the armed forces of Ukraine have repeatedly violated Ukrainian legislation regarding the torture of civilians, their abduction and execution on the front lines, and their unlawful transportation to the front, which does not legally exist if you look into it. There is nothing. No Ministry of Defense, no military units, no territorial recruitment centers due to the lack of a regulatory act on their formation, and all that the current regime is doing is killing Ukrainians, shooting them in the back as they flee. Do you think there will be legal consequences for the military personnel who carry out shootings? Regardless, they will face consequences. The time and place will come, and no one will escape criminal responsibility for their crimes, no one, ever. These are international crimes, specifically international crimes committed by part of the armed forces, namely the border service. They will be held accountable according to the law, and all these criminal instructions and orders will result in life sentences for all of them. And most importantly, they will not have the right to amnesty, nor the right to a fair and impartial trial. The right to amnesty after 25 years will not apply to them either. They will be deprived of that right, just as they will be deprived of the right to bail out of detention. So border guards should prepare themselves. You will be in our custody for a very long time, for life, for what you have done, for killing Ukrainians and continue to do so, shooting them in the back. Criminal punishment is required for this, as part of the armed forces who kidnap people from the streets and torture them in territorial recruitment centers without food and water will be held criminally responsible. All these crimes entail international criminal responsibility, and you will be handed over to the International Criminal Court, which will impose punishments. You will be handed over, for sure, when the regime changes. Everyone who has violated the rights and freedoms of individuals. I am now addressing the part of the armed forces with designations like Ground Forces, Operational Command of the Ground Forces, who formed part of the Armed Forces Territorial Recruitment and Social Support Centers. Their representatives, like you, will be held criminally responsible according to the law. All of you will be handed over to the International Criminal Court, and none of you will escape criminal responsibility for life imprisonment. Everyone, even security personnel from this organization, will be found guilty, even doctors for conducting medical experiments on individuals. Criminal responsibility will be imposed for all of this, and all doctors who have committed these crimes will also be handed over to international justice. We will hand all of you over to criminal justice and compel the international community to condemn you. Everything has its time and place. None of you will escape criminal responsibility according to international law. It is too early for you to believe in your invincibility. Your tyranny is coming to an end. It is time to imprison you for life, without the right to parole, but you will have the right to an attorney. However, you will not escape criminal responsibility for torture, for shootings, for the torture of civilians, for their killing. Everyone who did this will be held accountable according to international law, and the armed forces, those who did and do this, will be subject to this law, which all human rights activists talk about. I emphasize again that this law is unconstitutional, and all those who imprison people for 12 years or fine them will be held accountable according to international law. It will be handed over, and you will be sentenced to the maximum terms of imprisonment, 400 years, without the right to amnesty, without the right to correspondence or communication with the outside world. We hope that you will not escape criminal punishment. None of you will escape it. Therefore, I advise those deputies who are developing this law to understand one thing. Together with Zelensky, you will also be handed over to international justice, and you will be sentenced no matter where you are. Warrants will be issued for you, just like for Putin. When the government changes in Ukraine, sooner or later it will change, and you will be in my custody for life, without the right to release, without the right to bail out. You won't get out. None of you, those who are drafting this bill, will sit and will be handed over to international justice as those who are violators of power usurpation and violations of the constitutional rights and freedoms of citizens. I emphasize that no one can be deprived of the right to freely leave the territory of Ukraine or return to the territory of Ukraine. No Ukrainian can be restricted by any unit of the armed forces of Ukraine in this regard. Those who are currently imposing such restrictions will face criminal responsibility, lifelong imprisonment. None of them will escape such criminal responsibility. Those who do not let Ukrainians through will face criminal responsibility and will be handed over to the International Criminal Court in The Hague. Every one of you, military criminals. I insist that the border service of Ukraine is composed of war criminals, and you need to be punished. All of you need to be handed over there. Because I said so, because I will decide what to do with you, not you are deciding what to do with Ukrainians. I will judge you, and the international tribunal will be involved, and you all have your time and place in this. We will capture all of you and hand over all your military crimes, well documented, to international justice. None of you will escape criminal responsibility according to international law. What you are doing, crossing the line between good and evil. There will come a time when everyone who violated the constitutional rights and freedoms of Ukrainians will be held accountable according to international law and handed over to international justice. I guarantee that every one of you, from the military to the president and deputies, will be handed over, and none of you will escape criminal responsibility. There is no statute of limitations. None of you who adopted laws for 30 years will escape responsibility. All of you will be handed over to this court, and do not think that money will save you. Money, lawyers, calls will not help anyone. Neither will the oligarchs. All oligarchs will be handed over to international justice for war crimes. This applies to Akhmatov. This applies to all Ukrainian oligarchs. We will completely defeat the oligarchs. So do not expect that you will continue to violate our constitutional rights. Sooner or later, everything will end, and it will end badly for you, not for us. And one more important thing. Mobilization needs to be stopped immediately. The army should only be voluntary on contract. Conscription and military duty need to be abolished immediately. The military draft registration and military ads will also be cancelled. All of this will be annulled, along with the institution of registration and residence permits. Those who devised this will also bear criminal responsibility for it according to international law. They have created tyranny in Ukraine. As a lawyer and human rights defender, I believe that mobilization should be stopped. Kidnapping people is unacceptable. 100% of the army should be professional on a contract basis, with proper social security and guarantees that everyone who has served in the military will be socially protected upon retirement or in case of injury. You are not doing anything about this. This is a major crime against every Ukrainian, and you will also be held accountable for it. I emphasize that your republic is precisely doing this, and none of you will escape criminal responsibility. You believed in your invincibility on the Pekersk Hills too early. You think your opinion matters and everything will pass. But the time will come, and you will still be held accountable. Each of you, from investigators to prosecutors and judges, will not escape criminal responsibility for illegal decisions, persecution of dissent, embezzlement, and corruption. Each of you for war crimes against Ukrainians and the Ukrainian people will be held accountable. Zelensky will be held accountable for receiving money from the Russian budget for these films. Servant of the people and sugar daddy, he will be punished for this, as well as for evasion of mobilization from 2014 to 2019. He will definitely be held accountable. This is my principled position. This scoundrel, Volodymyr Zelensky, should sit and receive a minimum of 5 years for violating various articles, including evasion of military service and financing from the Russian Federation. He should also be held accountable for usurping power together with the Minister of Health from 2019 to 2023. Like this. For violations of Ukrainian legislation, all of them will be held accountable. None will escape criminal responsibility before the courts, and prosecutors, investigators, and those who are currently fabricating cases. Even Zelensky, the scoundrel who has wreaked havoc across the country, will not escape criminal responsibility. I will judge you, and I will be your prosecutor. I will be the one to judge all of you on the Pekersk Hills. It will be me, just like me, who will judge you, and not only me, but all radical Ukrainian nationalists will judge you. We will judge you in accordance with the law. You believed in your victory too soon. Your victory is coming to an end. It's time for your regime to surrender to the Ukrainian people. Surrender to the people of Ukraine before it's too late. Resign, and relinquish your mandates and positions. This applies to all Ukrainian parliamentarians, government officials, deputies, and the presidential office, including Poroshenko and Yulia Tymoshenko. We will catch all of you, and we will judge you. None of you will escape, not even in Dubai or other countries. Do you think that the hand of Ukrainian nationalism will not reach you? It will reach you. We will judge you. Your time is running out. The time of Ukrainian oligarchy is also coming to an end. The time of justice has come. After the events of February 24, all of you will be held accountable for your crimes, and none of you will escape responsibility. Why? Because what you have done against the Ukrainian people is a significant crime against the Republic. And for the crime against the Republic, you will answer before the International Criminal Court yourselves. We will hand all of you over there as international war criminals and sponsors of Russian terrorism. As for Russia, period. That's what I wanted to say. Be sure to subscribe to this Telegram channel, YouTube, TikTok channel, and also like, repost, and sponsor in the video description. Watch my upcoming and past videos. All of this is essential for you to know what will happen in the future in Ukraine. Subscribe, like, repost. Spread my videos as much as possible in YouTube trends and social networks so that this regime's hands, heads, and minds shake, because sooner or later they will be punished. We will definitely punish them. The time is coming when no one will run away, no one will escape. If you need legal advice on any area of law, it costs from 300 to 1000 hryvnias. Exiting the individual status costs 500 hryvnias. Legal consultation on the topic of mobilization costs from 500 to 1000 hryvnias. Separate legal consultation regarding mobilization when the legal norms are not working costs 700 hryvnias. Filing a lawsuit in court will cost you 1,500 hryvnias, and filing a simple statement in court costs 1,000 hryvnias. Legal consultation on criminal law and procedure costs from $100 to $300 depending on the complexity of your criminal law, criminal procedure, or criminal cases related questions. Also, be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel along with us and help reach 10,000 subscribers. Become a sponsor of these YouTube and Instagram channels to access exclusive content. Don't forget to leave likes, reposts, comments, and pluses, and also write about the topics you would like to see in future videos. We will definitely consider these topics in future videos. Also, I am ready to provide consultations regarding business management, driving a car in the status of a person for 1000 hryvnias. If you need an extract by the IDRAPU code, please contact me.